All right. Let's get into Top Shot. Top Shot. God.
Let's talk some Top Shot.
It's the dumbest fucking thing.
So it is, and I dived into it.
No! Randall! How much have you spent?
I don't want to say.
Okay, well,
wait, weren't you guys saying you don't gamble? What is this?
Well, this is what reminded me of it between talking about NBA stuff and talking about that.
Yeah.
It is what? Virtual video trading cards?
Correct.
Yeah.
That are limited and backed by crypto technology, essentially, to provide authenticity. Yes.
You get there are only limited amounts of basically YouTube clips of plays in the NBA.
Correct.
There are only 100 copies of this layup by OG Anunoby
in a losing game.
These sound like loot boxes. These sound like loot boxes.
They are, yes.
Oh, man.
I mean, I can't. I'm not. I was gonna say the only reason I'm not hating is or I can't like talk any shit is because I bought so many trading cards over the years.
Me too.
It's they're trying to be the new high tech trading card.
I don't know if they're even trying to at this point. It's kind of taking off. It's like kind of going crazy.
It's kind of crazy.
No, because the basketball podcast I listen to, like, they've been getting in. They have a segment, like, not on like their main feed or anything. But
that's how I knew you were aware of it, because I also listen to that podcast from time to time.
Yes. Okay. Good. Oh man, fuck. Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hello.
And John Hines.
Hi there.
And we are back to talk some video games for yet another week. Mm-hmm. And I guess we're going to dig right into it. I know this isn't like news per se, but there was the first Nintendo, like official full Nintendo Direct in a while. And I know we've talked about some of those like Nintendo Direct minis or the indie showcases. I forget what the exact names are all the time, but like the Indie World showcases, I think is what they're called.
Sounds right.
Yeah, this is like kind of the first, like kind of more Nintendo first party focused, even though there was some third party stuff too. But we'll get into something. John checked out actually one of the demos that dropped like during or right after the presentation. But I guess we'll just kind of bounce some. What did you guys think of the Nintendo Direct, or any like one highlight each or whatever?
Yeah, so generally I was into it. I mean, there's other things that could have appealed more directly to me. Of course, everyone could say that when they watch a Nintendo Direct, but the difference is I don't go online and scream about it.
Right.
But
it's like whatever happens.
Yes, exactly. And you just kind of, you lay back and you just like absorb the Nintendo Direct, and you get the nostalgia from when Iwata used to do those, and you think of better times.
Yeah,
but
big time. Yeah.
But speaking of those times, my favorite thing that I was excited about that got announced is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD.
Ooh, I thought you were going to take mine, so I'm glad you're going a different direction.
Yep. No, I want to put my sword down on this one, because Skyward Sword's an excellent game, and everyone should know it.
It's a pretty good game.
No,
from what I've played.
It's an excellent game. You get another opportunity to see how excellent it is.
Well, I don't know if that's going to be the case for me, but continue.
Okay, well, that's spicy. They have the button options now. You don't even have to use a Wiimote anymore. Come on. What's going on?
You got both. Yeah. You got both, which is really cool. Yeah. I do appreciate that you have like the motion control options, which was definitely probably the main complaint of this game.
Yeah.
Like being on the Wii, even with the Wii Motion Plus, like it really just, at least for me, I had a hard time like registering. Like it just got frustrating to the point where I was like, I'm done, you know.
Definitely will give that there were frustrating moments using the Motion Plus.
And not in the design itself, but just in like I got to slash my sword in a very specific direction, and like my Wii remote, at least in my personal experience, wasn't registering properly. But the Joy-Cons seem to have a much more accurate I don't know, gyro controls or whatever. But on top of that, you also have the option. It seems like they added a whole button, like kind of joystick sword control to this Skyward Sword mode or Skyward Sword re-release.
And that's honestly what I've been hoping for ever since I probably replayed it for the second time. And yeah, like the first time I played it was when it was brand new, and like I was like had that shine on it, and you know, I was willing to like, I don't know, put up with any faults that it may have had control wise. But like, I still maintain that it probably is one of my top like favorite Zeldas of the group. But like when I went back to play it and to see if that like statement still held true, like I probably made it maybe a third of the way through the game before.
Well, it's got a really long intro.
It does.
From what I remember. Like you got to kind of slog for a few hours before things get going.
But it's also like it's harder to like leave that game and come back to that. So like I think when it first came out, you know, I was playing it straight through. I wasn't playing anything else, and like when I was replaying it, I was like, there's a lot of like I want to play other things, and so like I always thought like, you know what, if they ever re-release it without motion controls, like something that is like a little bit easier to pick up, like I've always been looking forward to it. So like that's what I've been hoping for, and I'm actually really excited that it's coming out like this.
Totally co-sign on those statements. I would like to try out with button controls, and I will say that I think Skyward Sword stands out amongst Zeldas by having one of the better stories of the Zelda games.
Easily.
And that's not necessarily a high bar. Like, there's not a ton of story in a lot of other Zeldas, but I think they did a really good job with character development in this one. And there's fun side characters like our dude Groose.
So, like, the greatest character in any Zelda game.
I don't know if I even made it that far. It's possible that I'm just forgetting that character's name. It's very possible.
Groose,
I would say I got decently deep. I would say probably about what you said, John, like a third of the way through when you were saying on your second go around.
The dungeons are real good. The dungeons are excellent.
Everything.
And the overworld is really cool too.
Yes.
That's one thing that kind of stood out to me, as I remember there being a little more interactivity in the overworld.
Yeah.
Like not so much huge puzzle solving, but like you can see some of the Breath of the Wild DNA in there. You know, there's a little bit more. It's not just getting from point A to point B. I mean, it is, but you're doing like some swinging on ropes and vines and
finding secrets.
You're doing a little kind of fun platforming stuff here and there.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah. And I'm not like not excited about it. I don't think I am going to drop like $60 on this. Like if it drops down in price, maybe I'll pick it up, but it's not one that personally I feel like I'm kind of glad that I've let go a little bit of that. Like I got to get the new AAA Nintendo game. Like there's certain like the Marios, I'm a sucker, but even the Zeldas, I'm like, I could probably. I'm not going to play a 50-hour game. I just kind of know. I kind of know myself at this point.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and speaking of, you know, even though I'm not going to play a 50-hour game, I'm definitely going to put more than 50 hours into Mario Golf, because I am. When they announced Mario Golf, like we were talking in the Discord a little bit, and I was saying like, oh, nothing really exciting me, and like as soon as I sent that, they announced the Mario Golf game, and you know, I've had a ton of fun with the Mario Golf franchise in the past with pretty much every entry in the series. And I'm just assuming this is going to be more of the same, with hopefully a nice fleshed out online mode that's, you know, I don't even necessarily need that. That'll just be a bonus. But like, even if this is just kind of the Mario Tennis Aces version of Mario Golf,
which I think it will be.
I will. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that too, especially with that speed mode that they looked like they were like that arcade speed mode that they were throwing into the mix. I was like, okay, this looks like I'm into this. So.
As long as the story mode isn't the Mario Tennis Aces,
I think it will be.
That was a terrible story mode, to be fair. Yeah, we were talking about that before you jumped on, John.
I think it will be.
And like, that story mode was terrible. Although to be fair, if there's enough courses and like, because that was my only gripe with the 3DS version of Mario Golf. I forget what the game was actually called, but like, it was kind of limited on the courses. There were a bunch of 9-hole courses instead of 18-hole courses. Like, it was just I felt a little bit lacking, where like if this one just kind of fixes that one small gripe, like I just love the Mario Golf games. And it seemed like I just like the presentation.
Oh yeah,
I'm really excited about this one for sure.
It's just been like, I've been disappointed ever since there hasn't been another Camelot Mario Golf. Like they made the best version of that game and then never made it ever again.
Yeah, like you had the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance versions both had real story modes.
Yep.
And RPG,
with RPG
mechanics.
elements.
Yeah.
Like, so fun. God.
Yeah, you guys are looking for more than me, I think, because I've actually never played those, so I just have like the more like the arcadey experiences on the consoles, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah, and the N64 Mario Golf I enjoyed, but yeah, man, just want a little bit more.
Yep.
I feel that, yeah. And there does seem to be a story mode here, but it might be more of the 3DS style, or like you said, maybe more of the Mario Tennis style. So
not holding my breath.
Yeah, but I know you checked out one of the things from the presentation, but was there anything before we get into that, John, that kind of stood out, or do you want to get right into what you checked out, or?
I just have my perpetual heartbreak of Metroid Prime 4 not getting any Metroid, like
or anything from Retro Studios, because part of me was like, well, maybe if they're not doing Metroid, maybe they're secretly started another Donkey Kong Country.
Well, no, they restarted development on.
Yeah, they got handed Metroid Prime 4. Like Metroid Prime 4 was being developed by a different. This is such inside baseball.
Right, but that was a while ago, though.
It was
even when
they handed it over to Retro, they basically scrapped all of the stuff that they were working on them for and restarted it on. That's neither here nor there. That's just me being sad about there not being any new Metroid news for another year.
Well, there's always something during the directs that like everyone's hoping for. You know, we were all hoping for the Breath of the Wild 2.
I wasn't.
Like information a little bit.
What?
I want them to spend however long they need on that.
Yes.
I don't want them to talk about it. I don't want them to build up people's hopes. Like,
no,
totally.
I just mean like for me, I wanted to see more, but I agree with you though. I was definitely happy that they just said, "Hey, we need more time," and I think they even did that with Metroid Prime 4. But that was just like a couple years ago now.
Yes, it was.
It feels like when they announced the change to retro was when they said it.
Yep. But what they did announce, which I think this is the first time they've ever even mentioned it. I don't think this.
I never heard of it before. Yeah,
when they introduced us to the new Square Enix project in the same team or at least in the same art style from Octopath Traveler, which is the working title of Project Triangle Strategy, which they have a demo
in case
available.
You didn't know what you're getting into.
Yeah. And it's a new tactics game from Square Enix. Yeah. And as someone who is a massive fan of the Final Fantasy Tactics series, and of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance as one of my favorite games of all time, I was very excited to see a new tactics game from Square Enix. And they had a demo available right after the Nintendo Direct,
which is always cool.
Yeah,
downloaded that, and I really like how they did it, because I think for Octopath Traveler they had it like you start from the beginning, and then you were able, I think, to transfer over your Octopath Traveler file once like the full game came out.
Yep.
But I kind of like how they did it in. For Project Triangle Strategy is they put you into what I think it says is like chapter 7. And they just have you play a middle like level or a battle, and kind of go in with, characters that you've probably been introduced to at that point, and like they have their own dynamics and they have their own skills that they've learned at that point. So it even says, I think, that they've like ramped up the difficulty so that you have like, they're like, try out a variety of different strategies to like what works best for you to like succeed. So right off the bat, like it's, a lot more than just say a tutorial on like, how does a tactics like battle work?
Right.
So
I'm so mad I didn't text you before this in the Discord, John, because I was gonna Octopath Traveler, the demo, because they did kind of a similar thing. It got announced during like a Nintendo Direct or some kind of event. And I played the demo. Well, I tried to play the demo, but it was like a 20 or 30 minute, like you had to watch the whole opening of the game, basically. And again, cool that you could carry over, but I was like, I don't know that I'm for sure going to play this game. Right. So like, I want to check it out. And like, I was like, there's too much to go through, but I did not play a second of that demo because I just was like cutscene, and it's too much. And I wish I would have asked. I just assumed it was going to be more of the same.
Like it does start with a cutscene because it's like how probably the chapter starts. Like it has the like scene playing before the battle starts. So there is like this whole story that's happening. But I kind of I was reading enough to get a gist of what was happening, but like once I got like the main points, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna fast forward through this and actually like read it or listen or watch it when it comes out, like,
when you play it.
So I was able to like get the frame of reference, know what the like strategy was for the battle that was coming up, and it was really enjoyable. Like I like what it's doing, but at the same time, like, I have been hoping for a new tactics game, and this is not going to be it. Like, dang. This is like,
and when you say a new tactics game, you mean like specifically like a new like Final Fantasy tactics game, right?
Yes, this is not going to be like a complex job system where you're getting people, where you're trying to like get the skills and open up new jobs and open up and like try to build either a guild or a clan or whatever, and trying to like build it to your liking. Like I think you're still going to be able to do that, but that is very much more a scripted game, kind of along the lines of Octopath Traveler, where each character has their own role and their own class and their own skills. So like it's going to be I think a really immersive and good game in terms of like variety and like different like strategies that you'll get, but I think it's going to be much closer to like honestly a Fire Emblem, where like each character has their own personality and their story, and that's going to impact focus it, as opposed to like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you could have like honestly like a more nameless characters, but like that was, I don't know, part of the charm for me, where like I would be like, oh, this is a randomly generated like character that I've kind of built this narrative around. It's like, oh yeah, this character is like an assassin or like a hunter. Like you build it,
or
like,
even just this character survived for so many missions, like when all my other characters are dropping. So like, oh, this guy's awesome, even though it's like he's just a regular grunt essentially. But
this is definitely going to be more story focused and in that respect, and like each individual character, which also I'm gonna like. That's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna really enjoy it. But there's always gonna be a part of me that's like, just want another one of those Final Fantasy.
You just need to scratch that itch. You got to scratch that itch.
I'll just play Tactics Advance again.
Yep.
Yeah, but it does, I will say, it does look beautiful. Like you posted a couple clips, John, and there's like, especially the water. Yep. And I'm sure it looked just as good, but especially like, because Octopath, it still had that kind of diagonal camera view, but I feel like it wasn't so isometric. It was kind of like diagonal from like a straight on perspective, where this is kind of like diagonal from like the Northwest.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know how else to describe it, but like
there's
you get a little more depth to the strategy field. It looks cool, and because like with the different elevations, like it just seems like it's a little more noticeable to me than it was in Octopath, even though that was cool. Like that 3D kind of pixel art is part of like the appeal. But it just looks really cool.
And honestly, like, man, I love Octopath Traveler. Like that is such a good Square Enix like RPG in my eyes. Like I thought it was like a really, really well made game, and like I'm pumped. I feel like it's going to be in good hands, for even if it might not be the tactics game I want. Like I loved the way that Octopath Traveler kind of played on like the Bravely Default mechanics. And I think that this is going to be a very good game for me. Like, again,
nice.
If you played Octopath Traveler like most people and didn't like it, like maybe this won't be up your alley. But I think that this is going to be scratching a specific John itch.
That's awesome.
It was nice to see Square get a little time during that Nintendo Direct too. Like, and especially them kind of shining some light on that PS1 era, like on some lesser known titles like the Saga franchise and the I think like Legend of Mana, was it? Or one of the Mana games got announced, and like those look pretty cool too. I'm excited for those. Like, again, maybe not a day one purchase for me, but you know, it wasn't the most exciting. I know I'm always like, oh man, what do people complain about the Nintendo Directs for? But like, it wasn't the most exciting Nintendo Direct of all time. Especially, they kind of like hyped it up as being like, we haven't done one of these in a long time. But like, you didn't really have anything huge to show us either. But at the same time, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
So. But Randall, I know you've been doing a little more modern retro gaming.
Yeah,
what
that's
have you
all
been,
I do these days.
I know, and we're all about it, man. I love this stuff. So what have you been checking out lately?
So this is a pretty wild one. So I've been playing Paprium, which is how they pronounce it in the intro screen, but I'm going to call it Paprium because that's less obnoxious.
You got to love those announcers, though.
So this is a Sega Genesis game developed by Watermelon Games, who made Pure Solar, for folks that might know, circa, about like 10 years ago.
It rings a bell. I can't picture it, but it rings a bell.
Pure Solar was a Genesis developed Sega Genesis game made by Watermelon. That's RPG, essentially, just like totally a 16-bit RPG. They wanted to make another one of those. They did. It's really good. Has a lot of charm. Really good story. I've actually still not beaten it, but I did buy it back in the day because that's what I do. And it was really well made, and it basically set up a level of trust, not just with me, but with a lot of people in this niche of folks that like to buy new games for their retro systems. It built up a lot of trust with Watermelon Games.
Is this one that you picked up in cartridge form?
Of
like,
course.
Was it released physically and everything?
Absolutely, it was.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know it. I shouldn't even ask at this point, but
just, come on. But so they started really talking about Paprium. They didn't have that name at the time, but it's essentially a beat 'em up for Sega Genesis, because that was one of the biggest genres for the Sega Genesis. Think Streets of Rage series, think Ninja Turtles, like countless beat 'em ups that occurred. Is, you know, not only one of the biggest genres of the time, but especially big on the Genesis.
Oh yeah.
And I love playing those games with Tina, my wife. So to see another one get announced by a development studio that I thought could get the most out of the Genesis in a modern context, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to back this. So some people back this as early as 2012. Ooh, 2012. Wow. This just released.
I was going to say, this is pretty new, right?
Yeah. Like, people didn't get cartridges in their hands until December of 2020. So
wow.
I
almost
backed
a decade
this in April 2017. So
damn. It's almost like you forget about it at that point, you know?
Well, yeah, yes and no. So there's a whole story that I can get into about how they've kind of lost trust. I don't want to hamper on them too much, but they lost trust over time by lack of communication around the development of this game. And there was issues with like PayPal freezing their payments, so that could have caused some issues with revenue for development of the game. Like, issue after issue.
Gotcha.
Yeah. To the point where a lot of people are like, welp, I guess this is vaporware. That's what happens sometimes when you back stuff, is you just don't get a product.
Yeah.
And that's the way it seemed. Like, there was an occasional email, like maybe once or twice a year, and then sometimes not. And then, you know, I'm like, okay. And I didn't just pre-order the game. I pre-ordered a couple of relatively expensive arcade sticks for Sega Genesis. Because I was excited. There really isn't a great arcade stick for the Sega Genesis up until this point. You'd have ones that were made by Sega, but they kind of had like the taller American joysticks, and everything was just kind of like, it was good enough if you were a kid playing like Mortal Kombat to kind of mash the buttons, but if you wanted precise input controls, this wasn't going to be it.
They're a little flimsy, if I recall correctly. I don't own one, but I remember like seeing them around.
And to be fair, I doubt they sold for more than $50 at the time, right? These weren't made; they're made to be affordable for folks. And like the Genesis is so well known for like actiony, arcadey titles that it's a perfect match for an arcade stick. So,
for all the shmups on there, and beat 'em ups, and
So like all that being said, I was psyched about the arcade sticks almost as much as I was for the Genesis for that reason. So fast forward to this time, you get some like false starts with maybe this thing will come out. They did like this party for release that happened like 2 years ago, and then it was more silence. It's nuts. It's nuts. There's all kinds of documentaries on YouTube about it. But I've got the game now, all that to be said, and I've got the arcade sticks. So this game also had problems getting it going on my Genesis systems I have. It doesn't have full compatibility with every version of the Sega Genesis, unfortunately.
Oh, no, because what are there, like even the official Genesis systems, there's 3, right? 3 different ones?
I mean, yes, there's 3
like
models.
The Sega manufactured systems.
Three variants of Sega manufactured systems, the different Genesis models, but even within those, there were revisions of that model that play different and sound different, right? So only certain ones of those can play this game appropriately. Unfortunately, my Genesis Model 1 with the 32X and the Sega CD2 doesn't run it. It freezes, unfortunately. But my Mega SG from Analog does run it. I
was going to say, I know you got that Analog console.
So that does run it, but only after changing a few settings and forcing it to boot a certain way. And even then, like some of the like font overlay stuff is garbled, but I could play the game, so that was fine. And they're going to put out a patch apparently on the Mega SG to get it to play right.
Okay.
But it allowed me to get at least a first impression of playing Paprium with the arcade stick. And in general, I did enjoy my time. The graphics are unreal on this thing. Like, massive, highly colored, detailed sprites. It looks more like a Sega Saturn game than it does a Genesis game, I would say, to give you a frame.
It's really eye-catching.
Very much
like
so.
When you just mentioned the game and I looked it up real quick and was like, holy, this looks sweet. Like it's like the size, like the sprites, like Altered Beast size sprites, but nowhere near that primitive. I mean, it looks so much, or I think I'm thinking more of Golden Axe than Altered Beast, but either or, you can kind of swap them out. They're like really primitive, but they're like those huge sprites where like this has that size, but like the polish of like the Turtles games or whatever.
Absolutely. And like a level of color and detail and the soundtrack. They're doing a lot with kind of extra chips in the cartridge to pull off more than the base Sega Genesis could do on its own, both graphically and soundtrack wise. And it's pretty impressive that way. And the game itself is a fun beat 'em up. It's a little bit on the easy side on normal mode. I haven't completed it yet. I've only played the first handful of stages, and it seems pretty long. But it's 2-player. The combat is a little bit more detailed, like a little bit more like a fighting game kind of combat, kind of a la Streets of Rage 4. Not quite on that level. I think Streets of Rage 4 is a better game.
I mean that's tops as far as beat 'em ups go.
Yes. But still pretty impressive, and there's kind of unique enemy things where like some of the enemy behavior where enemies will try to get behind you to like choke you while another one like beats on the front of you. Like there's things that you didn't really see as much in beat 'em ups of that time period that are a little bit more advanced that I appreciate as someone that's played a lot of these. A lot of cool environmental elements like electrified train tracks in certain stages and like little one-off things that there's a lot of like polish and detail that way that I always appreciate. Pretty fun boss fights. There's kind of like a little magic bar stamina meter that like allows special attacks and you can refill those things. There's fun weapons to pick up, just like there are in a lot of beat 'em ups. Sometimes you can pick up the enemies and use those as weapons. Like
nice.
Lots of cool things. There's also the strobing effects can be a bit much lighting wise sometimes. So I'll throw that in there too. But there's actually even the ability to update the cartridge. So we'll see if they, improve compatibility or add anything else to this thing, but they definitely added a lot of features that are pretty unique and novel for a Sega Genesis release. But I also want to spend the rest of the time talking about the arcade stick, the GRANDSTICK III. I was
just going to ask, how are those arcade sticks?
They're beautiful. They're like, I'm actually kind of shocked at how well made they are. And for those in the know, they use like a Sanwa part for the arcade stick, which is like kind of top tier for parts quality, and it's got like a nice Japanese style clicky stick and buttons. And apparently if I had the right model Genesis, it would also do things like there's like a sound chip inside the arcade stick itself that talks with certain elements of Paprium, and like the button will light up if you have enough of the magic bar for your special attacks to press. So like little, they're so good at those little elements like that always are like I'm a sucker for. So I'll be playing more of it. It's pretty cool. It's not perfect, but I'm glad it released. I'm glad I own it. It's definitely doing things that other beat 'em ups didn't do. There's like 8 enemies on screen, so a lot of impressive technical things that way, I would say. But yeah, maybe more to come as I can actually play the full experience in a non-compromised way down the road. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's still just so cool. Like, I love that these developers are still like putting out true retro games. Like, nothing against stuff like Shovel Knight or these games, or even Cyber Shadow that we talked about recently that really go for that retro aesthetic, but like definitely expand things into widescreen and whatever. These developers going for like, we're sticking to like the limitations of this console.
Yep.
Or this platform. That's really cool.
Yeah, and even this guy tries, they're breaking the rules a little bit with the extra chips, I guess, but they were doing some of that stuff even during the day, so not that much.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. I'm into it.
All right, well, from one kind of modern retro game to another, I've been kind of bouncing kind of back and forth between, I guess, a modern retro and a true retro. I've been playing with some Wild Guns,
yes, sir.
Some on the like kind of Super Nintendo service on the Switch Online with my brother of like the actual Super Nintendo release, but I've also been playing on my own some Wild Guns Reloaded, which for the longest time I was like, when I was playing this, I was like, I'm sure we've talked about this on the podcast before, and then looked it up and we were like, yeah, I guess not. Like I think we mentioned it when Randall talked about Ninja Warriors before, or Ninja Saviors. I'm sorry, but that was like another game from
Natsume.
That's correct. Yeah. And it's like arcade style, like pure arcade style, but they really did a great job, like we talked about before with Ninja Saviors, like of modernizing that game.
God, that game's
so good. And it's no different here with Wild Guns.
Yes.
I need to get my hands on Ninja Saviors.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I love that game.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of gave the same treatment to Wild Guns, which is up until like recently, pretty much. It was a pretty rare Super Nintendo cartridge.
Very expensive.
I believe it was an arcade game as well, if I'm not mistaken, but like the Super Nintendo cartridge was $150, $200. I kind of just assumed like, okay, that's just a Super Nintendo game I'm never going to play. But thankfully they added it to the Super Nintendo online service on the Switch. And then they also, I think even before that, they had the Wild Guns Reloaded, which again is like, it's a remake of the game, but it does add, I believe, a few new levels. I know it for sure adds a couple new characters.
Widescreen.
And up to 4 players instead of 2 players. With those 2 extra added characters, and like you said, Randall, widescreen. So there's a little less scrolling going on. There's still a little bit of that, but not too much. But this is like I don't know, it's a super unique game, to be honest, on both fronts, whether you're playing the kind of updated version or not. It's like a gallery shooter, but also like it's almost like if you're playing a light gun shooter, gallery shooter, I guess those are one and the same, sort of. But you're also in control of a character that is on the screen that like you have to avoid the bullets. You have to kind of jump. Your character has a double jump, a kind of dodge roll that only works like when you're firing. It's the same as the jump button, but if you're firing, you kind of do like a dodge to the side. You can pick up bombs. There's a bunch of different weapons. I don't know. I've just been having a ton of fun with this game. I haven't gotten that far in Reloaded, but that's what I've been spending my time on as far as my single player time. But my brother and I are actually, to the best of my knowledge, we're on the last level of the Super Nintendo version. And again, we're using the save states and everything, but it is a tough game, but it really, really captures that arcade feel.
Yeah.
Like, even, again, on the Super Nintendo version, like, not even the updated version, like, it really, like more than almost any other game that I can think of on the Super Nintendo, it really captures, like again, I never played this in the arcade, or I don't even know 100% for sure if it is an arcade game.
I think it was only Super Nintendo.
I'm almost positive you're right, but it truly feels like an arcade game. Like it just has that like tactile immediacy to the action. I don't know. It's just it's so good. I've really loved both versions of this game.
Yep.
Again, it certainly helps to be playing with a buddy.
Yep.
Both to get further into the game, as I don't think I've even beaten the second level on playing solo on Reloaded.
Same.
But I love this game. And I'm kind of torn between the two, because the Switch I can play online with my brother. The Reloaded, even though it's updated, it doesn't have online.
I know,
play, but it's got online leaderboards and stuff. So it's kind of like both versions are worth checking out, I guess.
I agree with that, and I've played more of Reloaded, and it's another game. I guess I'm an arcade stick guy now. Maybe I always was.
No, that would be awesome with the arcade stick.
It is awesome with the arcade stick.
Yeah.
I've got the Switch arcade stick that I got for Christmas a couple of years ago, the Hori one, and it's perfect for playing Wild Guns Reloaded. I actually haven't booted up Wild Guns on the SNES online yet, but playing Reloaded with it, I'm like, oh, this feels good. And I felt like I was playing a little bit better with just that level of control too. But yeah, man, it's hard just playing on normal mode.
So hard. This game is hard.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it even like normal, I think on Reloaded it defaults to easy.
It did.
I'm like, oh, let me bump it up to normal, because there's a few like harder modes that you can unlock. I'm like, oh, normal's fine.
Yep.
No, it's not.
Nope.
It's fucking impossible. This game is like, you got to be ready to get your teeth kicked in, but it's like the level
fun.
of detail. It's super fun.
Yeah,
and the level of detail is incredible. Again, not just in the remake. Like, it's like, you know, like some of the levels are like maybe a little bit more of like tighter quarters, and there's all these like money bags around, but like, you like, as you shoot stuff, you'll start to see like it's not exactly where you shot, but like, oh, now there's some bullet holes in that like bag of money, or now like you shot the bottles behind the bar and now they exploded and there's just some shattered glass back there. Like, the attention to detail in this game is just like, I don't know, like, I just feel like if you were to look at it at first glance, if you were just kind of like, oh, let me find some like off the beaten path Super Nintendo games, you might think, oh, this kind of looks like what's that Konami side-scrolling game?
Sunset Riders,
and not a bad game, a great game, to be honest, and another really
Sunset
fucking
Riders
hard
is
game.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think you and I tried to beat that one a couple times, Randall, and never could fully pull it off. That game is so hard.
Yes.
But like, if you were to just look at like a screenshot of this game, you might think, oh, it's another game like that. But it plays so differently. I think it's just like a really unique experience. That holds up on the modern and retro front.
Cowboys have a pretty good track record in video games, really, when you think about it. It's not too bad.
They really do, yeah. Cowboys, and this is kind of Cowboys and Aliens before Daniel Craig got in there. So
it's good stuff, though. I love shooting stuff in the background, kind of like you're saying, like those elements of extra detail where like there's like a water tank or something, and like it flashes when I shot in that direction. Ooh, that's something that I can destroy. Oh, you know, there's a power up inside of it. That's awesome. Love that stuff.
Yes, and again, the new characters really kind of throw some new like, not wrenches into the mix, but like they throw some new gameplay mechanics into the mix, so it's super cool.
One's a dachshund with a drone. Like, that's like, you literally play as a wiener dog and a drone that shoots at things. It's a good time.
That's my favorite character. Yeah. It kind of plays a little bit like the Huntress in Risk of Rain 2. Like, it's got a little bit of that like auto aim a little bit. Like, you just have to kind of aim a little bit, and then it kind of has like this diamond reticle that pops up that's a little bit larger. And it'll kind of auto aim at anything within that diamond. So, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I just say, me and my brother will beat this game. I'll maybe give an update if there's anything worth updating. But Wild Guns, whether you're a retro or modern retro fan, I would say this one's worth checking out.
Agreed.
Yeah, but to close things out tonight, I know John's been playing the most recent the most recent update of Stardew Valley, which we haven't really ever. I'm sure we've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I don't think we've ever had like a full blown discussion. But yeah, you've been playing. I think it's the 1.5 update, if I'm not mistaken, which just released on consoles relatively recently.
Yeah, and I've been playing Stardew Valley for years at this point. I don't know exactly when whenever it got released on Switch was when I first started playing it. And man, I got sucked into that game when I first started playing it. I think my first file had like 150 hours in it, maybe.
Nice.
But I had one of my good friends who former roommate. We always had kind of talked about starting a multiplayer farm once that started being released on Steam and other platforms. But it wasn't until I think this past weekend that our schedules aligned and we were just like, you know what, let's start a new farm together.
Nice.
And man, there's from scratch, and
nice.
There is so much more stuff than when I stopped playing it years ago.
Nice.
I am amazed at how much Concerned Ape, which is just the one dude, has just put himself into continuously making little tweaks, performance enhancements, and also just additional content. There's so much new stuff in this game that I had an entirely satisfied 150 hours put in before any of this stuff got put in.
That's amazing.
Still felt inspired to go back to it. I mean, that for me at least, that's nuts.
Oh yeah. And so we played an entire day together. We were just play in real time day. Not,
okay. I was gonna say it's 20 minutes.
We played in game day. No, we played at least a season, if not two, together.
Oh wow, and that's great.
It was so it's the multiplayer in Stardew Valley is really satisfying. Randall, have you played Stardew Valley at all?
No, not really. No.
Because now with the update, there's local multiplayer. And I know that, we've talked about Animal Crossing and how
that's
a game that you and Tina played together.
Oh, yeah.
If you are at all interested in kind of low pressure management sim where you there is a new farm. Well, it may not be new for this most recent update, but there is a farm that is specifically built towards multiplayer setup where each it's broken up into 4 quadrants, and it's super easy for to have each person has their own farmhouse that they can decorate and do. One person will host it, but I think with local multiplayer, it has a split screen mode.
Okay.
And I would be really interested to see if if that's a game that I really enjoyed playing it, and it was playing it with someone who, like me, has put hundreds of hours into the game. So we knew right from the get-go, I was like, all right, I'm going to focus on fishing. I'm going to go through that skill tree. You do yours. And we were talking to each other. It would be he's like, oh God, I'm trying to get this one quest on killing 5 crabs in the mines, and I can't find the 5th one. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm watering all of our plants. I'm taking care of our farm.
You can stay in the mines. Keep.
Yeah, so
that's great.
It's a really good. Man, but even
we should all try to start a farm together or something. A little pursuing pixels.
I'm willing to do it.
How because you can do up to 4 players.
I think it's up to 4. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, even with 2, man, it's a good progression loop. But as soon as I logged off, I was like, I gotta start my own new farm. Like,
but you know what? What about like, I didn't even think about this, but like, because I don't even when we've talked about Stardew Valley in the past, I just talk about how I avoid all the relationship stuff and I just kind of go straight to the farming and min-maxing things and whatnot. But what if you're competing for relationships with the person you're playing with?
Yeah,
like, you're talking to people. It's all the same people in town.
But
that is interesting. That's a whole nother layer there.
I know that you can marry the other player as well.
Oh,
like that is a mechanic that they have introduced. But like
that's pretty cool.
Like I started a new single player like file, like even though I've got a like post game, quote unquote, what is really post game in this like file, like I've started over. I'm almost like, I even told myself is like, you know what, I'm gonna take this playthrough like easy. I'm not gonna like try to do everything, like I'm just gonna like relax and do this. And then of course I'm like, no, I'm gonna see if I can finish the community center in year one. Like,
once you start, you just have to it's like Pringles.
Oh dude,
you just have to keep going.
It's I've not played, like honestly, when we're talking Forager, that is kind of that same, like just the mechanics of the game are so satisfying that like you kind of get a dopamine like cycle going of just like doing everything over and over again. Like it's hard to break out of that loop just because like it's constant.
Well, because you can, it's because you can like just slow. It's like the slightest, but the most rewarding, like incremental. Like I can do a little bit more today, or I can do a lot. Like just I'm building my farm a little bit more. And again, if you're somebody who's sunk a lot of time into Stardew Valley, they added that beach farm as well to this patch, which is, I believe is like a hard mode per se. Like all of the soil is sand.
Oh boy,
to the best of my knowledge, so you can't use any of the sprinklers. You have to actually like hand water everything.
Yeah, which is
which is that's not even fun. Like, come on, I'm trying to min max this game. How am I going to min max when I'm watering my crops? But maybe if you're playing multiplayer, I could see that maybe being fun and like throwing a little chaos into the mix.
But still,
I'm down to try.
Just an incredibly satisfying game, and I will probably be playing it all throughout next week and the week after that, and I can't see myself breaking out.
We got to sync up for sure then, not to put any pressure on any of us, but yeah, we should definitely try to sync up on this one.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can pretty much call it a week there, guys, if you guys are feeling good. And as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. We got a nice convenient link tree where you can find all our goodies. But other than that, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Discord. We got a nice little community growing over there, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. But yeah, you can find us on the internet. And until then, we'll catch you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Did we want to do, I forget, was it Nintendo Direct first and then like wrap it up with the Project, what is it? Project Triangle Strategy is the name, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Jesus.
The unofficial title that it's just going to end up being called Triangle Strategy Tactics or something.
Strategy. Yeah.
I bet you it'll be called like, they'll throw tactics in there.
Tri-strategy. We'll take the angle.
I kind of like Tactopath Traveler. I know they're not going to go with it, but
yeah.
Triangle strategy, end of the first age. Yeah.
What were the three things? It was like morality. Fucking.
Oh, I didn't catch it.
It was real bad. It was
it was cheese to the max.
It was
for sure.
Not. It wasn't even cheese. It was just like this isn't good.
We know what to expect by this point.
Yeah, from Nintendo.
Yeah.
No, it's Square.
That's true. But in a Nintendo deal. Direct, it's like it's gonna be even cheesier.
God, the fucking greatest moment of that trailer was like, yes, the two elements, salt and iron, and then when they fought over it, it was the Salt Iron War, and I'm like,
I died laughing.
Couldn't put any less effort. Like that was.
It's like if you're gonna call it that, then you don't need the backstory.
Like, yes,
you just
get it.
if
It's
it's
very
gonna be called the Salt Iron Wars, that's all you need to say.
That's
Unity, morality, and liberty. Like,
oh my god, and justice for all. Give me a fucking break.
Unity. What the fuck does that mean? Like, anyway, let's
holding
go.
hands, man.
Let's start.